Right. So if you come to a nice seated position, we'll start with a short meditation. Any comfortable seat. As long as your spine is nice and upright, it doesn't really matter where your legs are, or just you can be comfortable. If you have your legs crossed, you might want to walk your feet a little further forward so there's blood circulation in your knees still and in your hips. And then the hands, there's a couple of options. You can put one in the other and just have the thumbs touching. You can have the palms facing down on the knees, the palms facing up, whatever you like. And then just close the eyes, soften the gaze. Maybe just start to take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and gentle sighs out through the mouth. Breathe in, you create space in the body, you lengthen up. And as you exhale, you feel your sitting bones, your legs, you're grounding down into the ground, you're softening the body. Sure, you soften down your shoulders, your elbows, the hands. Soften the hips and the legs. And let your belly just relax. Just give it enough space so you can really breathe into it. And then without changing the breath, start focusing on the breath. So notice you're breathing in, and as you're breathing out, maybe there's a pause in the breath. If the mind is all over the place, you can help sometimes by using some words. So you can maybe say breathing in, pause, breathing out, pause. Any other descriptive language might help you to really bring your focus to one point. Now when the mind focuses, really focus on the pauses of the breath. Decide in a moment between the in and exhale, the exhale and inhale. Now maybe you're keeping going with the count of the breath or the observing of the breath. Maybe you try and detach from it. See the mind silencing. If any thoughts arrive, just let them come up. Acknowledge them, maybe label them, and then let them go. Might be thoughts about breakfast or about what you're doing later in the day. Label it and then let it pass. If the mind wanders, don't get upset, don't worry. Very natural. Just gently come back to a quiet space, that space that's found between the pulse of the breath. And then gently let it go. You can open your eyes. I'm going to reach the arms up. Just interlace the fingers and push the heels of the hands away. Maybe like to look up at the ceiling. And then on the exhale, clasp the hands behind, roll your shoulders back, open the chest. And on the exhale, give yourself a hug. And you're gently going to come down to a child's pose. So if you like, you can have a cushion in front of you. You can have always some padding under the feet. I always think it's nice to lie over a bolster, but it's not essential as such. But try and have the hands out and then the fingertips just all spread out on the ground. Knees can be wide or closed. And try and settle here. So the focus is really our arms, wrists, and shoulders today. So where our small intestine and our heart meridian are. The heart meridian starts in the middle of the armpits, along the bottom edge of the arm, into the elbow, wrist, pinky, and then the small intestine is the back of the pinky, wrist, elbow, shoulder blade. Zigzags up the shoulder blade into the neck, across this big muscle on the side of your neck, and then into your cheek and back just in front of the ear where your jaw opens and closes. This extension of the arms, feeding the space into the armpits. And also the hips. Try and bring some softness there. Maybe some breath into the lower back. Feel this lovely rounding in the back. We'll be here for one more minute, so make any changes that makes it more comfortable. Or maybe you need to walk the arms a little further out to get that extension. Maybe have the knees a little wider or narrower for a bit more into the hips. Maybe you're just fine. Taking 2 more deep breaths here. And then we're gently going to come up to a tabletop position or an all fours. So just take a moment here. Like you can sway your hips. Or maybe take a cat-cow. Then we're going to move into Anahatasana, our heart melting pose. We stop the timer. This one you can also do against the wall if you want, or against the door. If you have cushions or blankets, you can take them either close to your thighs, so that when we come forwards, we're going to lean down. It's more the belly that lies on it. Or sometimes it's nicer to bring it more forwards. You can even do it this way. So it's more the whole of the spine that's supported. is quite a lot into the arms, into the shoulders. It's a big one. You really want to keep your hips above your knees. So make sure the weight's a bit back, but you're going to do it for 3 minutes. So what you could do is 1 minute with the right arm, left elbow bend, or 1 minute and a half, and then swap over, or a full 3 minutes with both. So choosing your position, feeling that extension into the armpits. If you feel that your feet are floating a bit, you can always tuck the toes if that gives a bit more grounding. You could even put a little blanket under the ankles. And I really feel this opening is reaching into the arms. You also feel there's a length along the spine. The heart is melting down towards the ground. Try and keep your shoulders still on the back so you're not rolling them towards your ears. There's this openness across your shoulder blades. If you're doing one arm bend and then the other one, it's just time to swap it over. And then bring your focus to your breath. Try again without changing it. Just notice the breath in. Notice the breath out. Full deep breath into the belly, the lower back, all around in the rib cage, shoulder blades, and the chest. And a couple more deep breaths here. Feeling that 70 or 80% intensity. Allowing your body to soften. And we're gently going to come out. So I think it's easiest to come back up, move the blocks, and we'll come for a rebound into lying on our bellies. You can rest your hands on your forehead. I keep saying this the last few weeks. Your head on your hands. And sometimes it's nice to just sway your hips from side to side, release the tailbone. Indeed, if we're lying in one position for your Anahantasana with your head, then now pick the other so your neck stretch both sides. Maybe you'd like to lie still and just observe how the pose feels in the body. And then next we're gonna come into slings. Just grabbing a blanket, which I could have done before, but anyways. So you're gonna stay on your belly, sorry. I just came up to grab a blanket that I didn't prepare. So if you have a little rolled up blanket for me, just because the bolsters is a bit much. For swings, we lie on our belly. We've got, if you want, a bolster or block underneath the chest, underneath the belly. The elbows are underneath the shoulders and the hands on the ground. And you want to have this pulling sensations if you're pulling your chest between the shoulders. So this is open as your shoulders roll back, spreading the collarbones, and this slight gripping into the floor with all fingers. And the legs are just straight behind you. You're reaching them away. So there's a pulling forward and a reaching back. And the head is just looking ahead. But if that's too much in the neck, you can just look down towards the floor. I'll start a timer. Breathing here. Still have this openness across the chest, but less weight on it. And it does now, I always think it can be quite intense because the weight of your hips can also come into it. Whereas here, there's still that opening in the chest. There's still a big front body opener and deep, deep back bend. But there's a little less weight. If it's too intense here, and always bring the elbows a bit forward and lower the chest a bit further down. Whichever way you can keep an extension in the lower back. So we're lengthening the spine. We're not compressing it. If it feels compressed, you need to come a bit further down so you can reach the breastbone away. Keeping your shoulders down, push into the elbows, grip into the fingertips. And become aware of your front body, really from pubic bone all the way up the midline of the body to the chin. That's where your conception vessel runs. This is seen as the yin sea, like our reservoir for our yin energy. So all meridian lines tap into that at some point. So for the small intestine, it's just 4 fingers below the belly button. And for the heart, it's just below the breastbone. So feel these 2 points move away from each other. So if you're opening this line, lengthen the body. A half minute left. Maybe you can find a bit more opening in the chest. Pull the shoulder blades together. And then on your next breath out, if you have something under you, move it and come to lying down on your belly. Listen, just bring your left knee up. And just so you're releasing the back. You can look in the same or an opposite direction. So whatever feels nice. Take a couple of big breaths here. And then gently come back to center, bring the leg back down. We're going to come into seal or maybe Sphinx again. So that's up to you. Setup is the same. This time it might. So seal is a slightly deeper version. I'm going to go here if that's available to us, but it's a lot. So this might be a point, or if you want to play with that, you want a bigger bolster, bigger blanket to really prop up, support the ribs. It's a lot. So be gentle with yourself. Make sure it feels all right in the lower back. Yeah, need to come down a little bit. I'll start the timer. And then come to the fingertips, arms out wide and we're onto the fingertips. So in my case, I'm not actually a lot higher than Sphinx. The main difference for me, I really feel it in the arms. There's more openness there. For my lower back, I cannot go a lot deeper because I will walk away with a funny limp. And that's not worth it. So feel the limits of your own body. Feel what is right for you. Maybe you have the space. We're all very different, so what might feel right for you or me will not be the same for the other. As long as you really feel this extension of the front body, this openness across the chest, you've got all fingers plugged into the floor. And try really push into the fingertips. Imagine you've got like this tennis ball underneath the hand. So there's this doming of the fingers. You're halfway there. Maybe there's a gentle smile on the face, some compassion towards yourself. If at any point you need to come out, just come out. Otherwise, bring the breath to troublesome areas. Areas where energy might not flow. Move it there. Got half a minute left. Try and remember those points at the front of the body for the intestine and for the heart. Move them away from each other. Feel the lengthening. And then on your next breath out, we're gently going to come out. So move anything you need to move and come to lie on the belly. And this time pull up the other leg. So the knee comes at hip height. You're either looking in the same or opposite direction. Try and do the opposite of what you did earlier. But if that doesn't feel right, do the same. And bring the focus of the breath to the lower back and the front of the body. Those areas that really a good stretch, good opening. And observe how Sphinx feels or seal feels in the body. Where it challenges. Where does it feel nice? No judgment, but just observing. Maybe it's a posture that makes you feel really energized. So often is the case with back bends. And then we're gently gonna make our way up to a seat. So in any way that works for you. Just taking the time. So I'm gonna come into shoelace, but just half, unless, and that's just a lineup. Unless you're like, all right, I don't feel anything. If I do it half, then come into with both legs. But as such, I'm only planning on doing half. So here a cushion might be nice just to bring the hips up a little. But maybe a block would be better if you want to. The right leg is going to go out straight. The left leg is going to cross over. We're going to bring it knees as close together as we can. Now for me, this feels like quite a lot under my right leg. So to not overstretch into my hamstring, I put a little blanket under there as well, just because I think it's nice. But again, you can come and sit higher with the hips as well. Is a big one for the hips. Then, oh, I should have grabbed that first. A strap or a sock or a belt. And I think that we should have everything. You could still have a block or bolster nearby. So we're gonna do first cow face pose. So the right arm is gonna reach between our shoulder blades. And with the left one, we're just gonna give it a couple of circles. First, to loosen into that shoulder. And then we release that and grab our strap into the right hand. And then we'll go back. Yes, and the left hand reaches from underneath. You just work that left hand up as high as feels okay for you. Oh, I need to put on the timer so we don't stay here forever. And then once you have a hold, can be on fingertips as well, but it's not essential. Then try and bring that right elbow back in line with the body. The left elbow reaches down. And see if you can still have space for the head to sit nice and tall. And then breathe. All of the things, as long as you can breathe. You're really working into the shoulder. Allowing the time to work into it. Maybe you like to imagine the energy from your right armpit go along the bottom edge of the arm to the right pinky, slide a pinky to pinky or through the strap to the left pinky, the outside of the arm, the front of the shoulder. Where am I at? No, not the front of the shoulder, the back of the shoulder. I always get confused. Into the shoulder blade, and then to the left side of the cheek. Maybe you can even look under the right arm or alongside the right arm to really stretch out small intestine line on the left. Two more breaths here. And then gently letting go. The legs stay as they are, but we're going to grab a hold of the hand. The right hand is closest to your chest. Just interlace the fingers. So they're just interlaced, but the right one is towards you. Yes. And then as you exhale, you're going to pull the elbows away from each other. Really stretch into the shoulders. Inhale, release. Exhale, pull the hands. Inhale, release. 2 more. Exhale and pull. Inhale, release. We should feel into the shoulders. Exhale, pull the hands. Inhale, release. And then the left elbow is going to come under the right elbow into the left. So see if you can really cross into those elbows so those points touch. And then you're either holding onto shoulders, backs of the hands, or fronts of the hands. Here, or so I said that earlier. Here you could have something between the knees and the arms, and we rest forward. Or maybe you can rest straight onto the knee. And then this time the gaze can be towards the left. So you stretch into the small intestine on the other side. Soften into your hips. Maybe your top foot likes to walk a little further back. It can be quite nice to rest the head against the hands if that space is available to you. That space between your shoulder blades. And then on an inhale, we're slowly going to come out. So under the arms and the legs, you might like to bend the knees and just lean back. Hold here, or maybe like to sway the knees. Come back to center. And we're going to go into the other side. So choose the padding for the buttocks that you want. 1, 2, many. Left leg straight this time. If you want something under that left knee so you don't overstretch into the hamstring, pop something underneath, and then the right leg comes over. See if you can really, I was going to say pull, but pull's not the right word. Bring that leg forward and stack the knees-ish. As long as there's a noticeable movement into the hips. If that for you is here, then here it is. There's no one way to be in the posture. Like I said, we're all so different. And then we're going to come into our cow face pose. So first, left fingertips between the shoulder blades. And we'll just take a couple of circles. Create that opening. And then we grab our strap if we want to. In our left hand. And then the right hand, make sure you turn the thumb down so you make space in the shoulder to reach back. Holding on to your strap. Or maybe onto fingertips. And again, bring your arms in line with the body. So the left elbow goes back, right elbow goes down. There's space for the head. So rather bring the elbow out if there's no space than have it here and be crunched up. And then breathe. You can gently pull in at the belly button, push into your sit bones. For me, this one feels much more intense than the last one. So maybe for you, there's a difference between your last side and this side. This can be a difference in the legs, it can be a difference in the arms, it can be both. There'll be a difference because we use our body not in symmetry. You often have a dominant side for walking, for writing, for sitting. So this might be the one that you use for sitting cross-legged. So you have more space in the hips. Feel that space from the left armpit, along the left elbow to the left pinky, and from the right pinky, right elbow, right shoulder blade. And maybe you look over to the left. Stretch into your small intestine meridian. And then we gently let it go. Bringing the arms forward. Softly, softly. This time, interlace the fingers, but the left one is towards you. Do that a couple of times. So inhale to soften, exhale to pull. Inhale to soften, exhale, pull. You move the elbows away from each other. Exhaling, pulling. One last one. And then we'll go into our eagle arms. So you're quite right. A cushion on the knees might be nice, or rolled up blankets. And this time the right arm under, left elbow really into the other elbow. Holding on to shoulders, backs of the hands, or fronts of the hands, depending on the space you got. And sometimes I think it's really nice to lift up the elbows. I really feel that space. Feel the space between the shoulder blades, feel the space across my belly. And then when I've established that space, then I drop down, rest the elbows. And this time we can gaze over to the right. Maybe lean the head against the hands. Really softening it into it. And if your left toes ever so gently engaged, the foot's flexed towards you, make sure you're not overstretching into the hamstring. Maybe the right toes are moving back a little further. You can open a bit more into the hips. Maybe not. As you breathe, feel that space at the back. The space you can create between the shoulder blades, opening. Your next breath out, we're gently gonna come out. And again, just lean back, the knees bend. Just sway, if that's nice, or maybe like to hold in stillness. And then we're going to come into butterfly. So for this, I'm going to come into it reclined. So you might want to have lots of props for this. I always think it's nice to have something at the base of your spine. If you've got something that's quite soft, you really want to bring it in quite close. If you've got something that's a bit harder, so I've got a slightly firmer bolster and slightly softer one. So the softer one I bring in low because it will squish enough for my spine to lie against. And the feet are going to come together. And here, the options for the legs, you can put support under the knees. You could use a strap or a blanket to, if you have it rolled up, let me just roll it up again. One second. If you have a blanket, then you can wrap it around the feet and then put it under one buttock and then under the other. So they're staying in place. There's this opening in the hips, but they won't slide away from you. The same you could do with a strap. And then we're going to lean back and try and have your whole spine supported, so all the way to the back of your head as well. We'll stay here a bit longer. So really stay for 5 minutes. So find the support you need. So if that's lots of cushions under the knees, that's lots of cushions under the knees. And then we lean back. And then for the hands, let me start that. You can do a couple of things. You can indeed rest them on your belly if that's nice and you just want to feel the breath here. Or maybe if you want to work a bit more into the shoulders and into the armpits, you can reach them overhead. And so you get this opening into the armpit again, just like you did in Anahatasana, but really this time without any weight on it. So it can really feel quite nice. I feel like my elbows are not touching down. You can always put something underneath your elbows. And then I can have the gaze up at the ceiling, or maybe you like to close the eyes or soften the gaze. And then here, really focus on the breath. It's very open and quite an exposed posture. It's quite nice to focus on something so internally as the breath. So you really feel it as it enters the body. Feel it going into the belly. Feeling it expanding in the belly. Expansion in the ribs. The front and the back of your chest. Maybe even feel the length into the arms. And then as you breathe out, feel the softness come into the body. Melting into the floor, into your support. A couple of times. Really focusing on the breath. The mind doesn't wander too much. It will still wander, you're still human. If you can find some calmness in the mind by focusing it, by training it. So when thoughts arise, acknowledge them and then let them go. Or sometimes it can be really nice to just see where the thought goes. Go with it. See if you can get to the end of the thought. And often that means that once you do that, you start to really follow it. See where it comes from, it will disappear. By following it, I don't mean to engage in dialogue. Let's see if you can come to the root of the thought. What's behind it? Where does it come from? Where is it going? Not in the sense that you're going to have a whole conversation. And if that happens, again, no judgment, observation. The moment you acknowledge this, you're acknowledging it. And you're letting it go. Try and come back to the breath. This three-part breathing: belly, ribs, chest, chest, ribs, belly. Always acknowledging that there's any pain or anything and you need to make adjustments, make adjustments. Acknowledge when it's your brain distracting you and when it's actual action needs to be taken. There's a difference. Not at all do you need to be in pain. If there's tingling, that often means that there's a struggle to get the good blood supply, so then move whatever is tingling. Make sure the blood can still move throughout the body. And then on your next breath in, we're going to slowly come out. So support your legs as they come in. So push them together with your hands. And then just roll to one side or the other. Go off your support and come to lying just on the side or leaning back while seated. Just whatever you feel like you need to do. So after such open posture, it's quite nice to come just back, curl up a little bit. And come to lying on your back. So for the last one, we're going to come into recline twist. So here, it might be nice to have something near. I'll twist to the left first. So near your left knees. And it might be nice to have something near your right arm. Optional. So we're going to lift up the hips and drop them a little to the right. And then drop the knees over to the left. And they can be on the support. They can be with the right ankle above the left knee if you want to work into the hip, or maybe like to cross the legs all the way over, or maybe even hook round the ankle. So the right leg is open. Yes, so we're dropping to the left. But however much you twist, that's entirely up to you. And then the arms can come overhead again. And this is where that support for the right one might be nice, because if it might be that your right shoulder lifts up a bit and they can just rest on there so that the whole body is supported. And then we look in opposite direction of our knees. And then really try and feel the space between the right armpit and the right hip. Lengthen them away from each other. Find a spinal twist that's enjoyable for you. So this is one of the last postures. This is really much more about coming down and just coming back to center. So a little bit more softness, a little less intensity might be appropriate. I want to into more deep breaths here. Now gently bring our knees back to center. Hips back to center and change over to the other side. So move the support if you want it. I will move my timer so I can still see it. And then hips to the left, left leg crosses over and knees drop to the right. Maybe they're crossed a little, maybe they're stacked. And then having the left arm maybe on a cushion or rolled up blankets. Looking in opposite direction of the knees. And either picking the shoulders as your static point and the hips to move away from it, or your hips as the point that stays and this feeling of your shoulders moving away from it. It's almost like you've got cloth and you wring it out to squeeze and pull kind of vision. If you're a visual person, you might like to envision that. That's this lovely twist for the spine. In order to lengthen, you need to have a static point and move away from it. And they're gently going to come out. Maybe for a moment, like to have your hands on your belly and just sway your knees. Rock them from side to side. Have them buckled in towards each other. Then we're going to get ready for our Shavasana. So maybe like to do that while lying on your side. Maybe in just lying on your back with something under your knees. You should probably know by now, I like that. I like something under my knees, my feet wide, and a lovely blanket to cover. But the choice is yours. You can have a cushion under the head. Just wherever you can be super comfortable. And then come to closing your eyes, softening the gaze. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And a good sigh out through the mouth. 2 more. Now relax your left toes, your left ankle, your left leg. Your right toes, right ankle, right leg. Relaxing your belly, your buttocks, your back, and your shoulder blades. Relaxing your collarbones, your shoulders, left fingertip, wrist and arm, right fingertips, wrist and arm. Relaxing the front and the back of your neck. Soften your jaw and your cheeks, your forehead and eyelids. And let the body really melt into the support of the floor. Let the breath continue in its own rhythm, no interference needed. Beautiful automated system that keeps you going. Enjoy the silence, the space. Now gently deepen the breath. Bring movement into fingertips and toes, wrists and ankles. Lengthen all the way out. Give yourself a hug. Anything you're craving to do. And then gently make your way up to a seat. Bring the hands together, the hearts. Keep the eyes closed or softening the gaze. And observing body and mind. No judgment, just notice how you're feeling. And bring the hands together to forehead as a reminder to always, always show loving kindness to yourself. To your lips as a reminder to always, always show loving kindness to others. And to your heart as a reminder to always, always show loving kindness to the world, the earth, and the universe that surrounds and supports every single one of us every single day. Huge big bow as a thank you for taking the time to practice. Thank you to the yoga system and to ourselves. Thank you very much.